bad stuff happens to us all, it's what you do with it that makes the difference. It's how you use it. It's how you frame it. It's how you view it.
Hi, and welcome back to the Empowerment Podcast. And today we're joined by Paul Adamson. Paul, thank you so much for agreeing to be with us on this. Perhaps if we could start with you just giving a little bit of background for our viewers and listeners.
Absolutely, Neil. Well, listen, it's great to be here today, and hello everybody who's watching this podcast. So to give you just a little bit of background on me, well, I spent 20 years professionally sailing the world's oceans, and most recently I've just sailed around the world with Formula One superstar, none other than Mr. Eddie Jordan, who you may well know from the BBC, of course, and from owning the Jordan race team back in the 90s. Now, how I actually got on that yacht was that, I spent 20 years professionally working in the industry. And then I met my beautiful wife, Audrey, in the Caribbean back in 2005. Now, of course, love is a really strong emotion. And so Audrey was going back to Ireland, and I followed her. So I arrived in Ireland as a professional sailor going, what the hell am I going to do? Audrey's a dentist by trade, but a passionate sailor. Now, I've always had a really strong belief, and that is no matter what happens in life, I'll always be okay. It doesn't matter. I'll find a way. I'll sort it out. So I rock up in Ireland thinking, holy crap, I'm going to have to kind of generate a career here, And so I saw a little niche in the market that there was no yacht training centre in Ireland at that time. So guess what I did? I opened one up. I thought, perfect, that's exactly what I did. And so I opened a really successful yacht training centre in our island. And then what happened was I started meeting all these incredible people, like really empowering people. And one of them, a guy called Pat Rigney, who's a big business guy over there, every month with his sales team, he would get a guest speaker in. So he'd have the likes of Brian O'Driscoll, he might have different Irish rugby stars, different Irish sports stars, whoever they were, but he'd bring a guest speaker in. Now, on one particular month, that guest speaker had cancelled, and Pat, totally out of the blue, phoned me up and goes, Paul, is there any chance you could come in and speak to the team, I don't know, about crossing the Atlantic or something like that, kind of the lessons you learned? So I was like, yeah, cool, yeah, of course, that's no worries at all, Pat. So I crafted this presentation. I went in, and this was back in 2009, and I remember very clearly standing in this long boardroom with about 30 guys there, guys and girls, kind of looking at me and kind of thinking inside, okay, open your mouth now, holy crap, what the hell are you going to say? And then I kind of just started talking about that when we crossed the Atlantic back in 2005 on another yacht, how we went through this massive storm. In fact, it was a hurricane. So I started building the story up, and I got to a point where even I was on the edge of my seat, and I was standing, and the whole team, and I suddenly just went, hang on, guys, I've just realized something. And I went, what? I said, this storm that I went through back in 2005 is no different from the storm that we're all going through right now, the financial storm of 2009, the recession. You see, your company is just like a yacht. You can't control the weather, but you can control where you steer. You can control the trim of your sails, and you can control the people on the yacht, your team. Look around the room. And I don't know where that came from, but it was almost like it came from a higher force or something, but it just came out. But the upshot was it blew the room away. So much so that Pat said to me, he goes, Paul, he said, that was just, he said, honestly, he said, I didn't, wow. He goes, could you start working with this sales team and write them a sales program? So I probably paused for about a millisecond, and I did a Richard Branson on it, which is say yes first and worry about it later, right? So I was like, yeah, Pat, no problem. Yeah, that'll be really easy. Walked out of the room going, oh my God, what have I just committed to? Oh God, But you know what? Sometimes in life you need to do that, right? You've got to kind of make that commitment that even if you don't know the way, maybe, just find it. Just make the commitment because you find the way. So then what I did was I then started just going, right, okay, I need to learn as much about sales and motivation and influence, all these types of things. And I just went into this big self-education. So much so that I ended up in the States at one point with, of course, the big guy, Mr. Robbins himself, dancing up and down with 5,000 people like this. And I remember at that point looking up at Tony thinking, you know what, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah, I got to learn some more tools and strategies along the way, but I could do that. And that really inspired me, that when I went back then to Ireland, that when I went in and ran this sales course, we absolutely, we blew the whole thing away, to the point that the company, was doing 4 mil a year in turnover. They now do 60. Okay, and we grew that business. And I can remember saying to the guys, I said, well, what really made the difference? And Pat was like, what was you, Paul? Because you've come from such a different background. You're a lot more engaging. You've not read leadership out of a book. You've actually learned it. You've had the challenges on the ocean. You've had to deal with the crew that's melting down in the middle of the ocean because they're scared in the storm. And you've managed to kind of craft that and bring that into business. So that's how I started corporate speaking. And the next thing then, I'm in Horseware Ireland, which is the largest manufacturer of horse rugs in the world. Nuts, but I'm in there running a sales course for them. I'm then in Ovell in pharmaceuticals. I'm then over in a big food company as well. And so all these things happened. And then I remember very clearly being on a stag do in North Wales, coming off a go-kart track, and I felt in my pocket that my phone had rung. So I picked up my phone and I looked at my phone and I saw that there was a message, but I had no idea who it was from. So, what do you do? And all I heard was, Paul, this is your lucky day. Call me back right now. I was like, who the hell is this? So, of course, I called back. And that was when I first met Eddie. You see, he had headhunted me because I was well known in the industry, and he had gone to find out. And I didn't know at that time that Eddie was building this super-yacht to then go off and sail around the world. So suddenly that lifelong dream that I had, which I didn't tell you about at the beginning, but I've always wanted to sail around the world, suddenly just manifested. But here's the crazy thing, and I guess if you're watching this podcast and you're kind of maybe thinking something like, okay, well, that's all right for him. He got the life-changing phone call. Well, you know what? That could never happen to me. Well, the bit I missed out that just popped into my head that I must share with you is a month prior to that, myself and Audrey had actually completed our first vision board. Now, we'd heard about vision boards and we'd heard about all this empowering things, and it's so easy, isn't it, to kind of hear all this stuff, but then you don't put it into action. And of course, if you don't put it into action, then how's anything going to manifest anyway? But it was literally a month, almost to the day, that we'd put up on our vision board that what we want to do is sail around the world, and we'd cut out the picture of the yacht and we'd put it up on this vision board. And we thought, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll buy our own boat and we'll go off, and we'll either do it, we could have done it at that time, a small boat, maybe we do it after we have a family, or maybe, or that's all we thought. And then a month later, our dream arrived. Now, what was interesting was, because our dream arrived not exactly as we maybe had envisioned it, we actually went through a process of about a week and a half to 2 weeks where we didn't know whether we were going to go left or right. We were kind of at that crossroads in life that we all get to at times, where it's like, wow, the dream's here, but my speaking career is really taking off. I'm doing really well. I've got my sales training business. Audrey's working in a beautiful, swanky dental practice, so everything's great. And yet our dream is over here. And you know what was amazing is we almost turned it down. And the lesson that I learned from that is, you know what? When you trust in the universe, it just seems to know how to manifest what you want. Because when we kind of figured that, well, this is our dream, and okay, what are we going to do with these businesses? We know what, we'll find a way, we'll work that out when we come back. And it's so much, and there's so many people I've met, even on our way around the world, and people I've met in audiences that I speak to that turn down opportunities because they don't come into their lives exactly how they imagined it would. And you think, well, maybe just the universe knows the right way for you. As Steve Jobs says, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. And that really resonates with me, because when I look back now after sailing around the world with Eddie, it was the perfect thing at the perfect time. Because at that point as a speaker, listen, I was all right, I was good, without trying to blow my own trumpet there. But I was not as good as I am now. Why? Because I needed that experience. Those 3 years with incredible people, with maybe sitting on the beach in their little Pacific island, which is 4,000 miles from any land. The only way you can get there is on a yacht, with the elders, watching the sun go down, with children playing in front of us, listening to the sound of the waves on the shore, and them turning to you, you know what, Paul? Bula, Paul. You know what? In life, as long as you focus on being happy, then you can be happy. Yeah, that's so true. And, from lessons like that to being in the middle of an ocean and seeing incredible wildlife that just blow you away, that kind of realize in the Western world we get so kind of bogged down with our lives or little shit that just doesn't matter. So I hope that's a kind of backstory in some way. I think I've probably done this. I've probably, but that's how life works, right? You kind of go through the dots. But I hope that kind of
wow. Yeah. Well, first of all, just wow, what a story, and what a diverse story, I guess, Paul. And what you were saying about the universe, you're so right. It's so strange how we have these plans in our head. Like you said, you and your wife had got it down to the last detail, and then it kind of shows up. And I always think that it's kind of the universe going, haha, here you go.
Absolutely.
You can have to change how you think, And as well, I think the universal plan, and if there is one for all of us, have you thought that if you hadn't have done that series of engaging speaking and the sales, that opportunity with Eddie might never have shown up anyway? Because the visibility is so key on that as well.
Absolutely, massively so. Because that also, that enticed him in as well. But this is how crazy it is. It was then at a later stage. Then we realised, after obviously becoming Eddie's great, I'm a great friend now, and we've been, he's a great mentor. It's kind of, you kind of then realise all the people and all the kind of links cross, and then you realise, when you go round, and then when you go around the world like that, and just that experience of really dealing with, dealing with the crew through big horrendous storms in big, and you are miles from land, and the only person you've got to rely on is yourself and your team. That's all you can do. And that then it was like, wow, because now when I'm back into different companies that I work with, the impact that I can bring for them is so much more, just purely because it's kind of like, because we all learn through stories, right? So sometimes a really empowering story can really help them to break through, that they go, you know what, he's so right. Why the hell am I twisting myself up over that? That's crazy. Maybe if I just take a slightly different angle and view it slightly differently, then I'll take action, which ultimately is what gets success. Persistence. After meeting all these guys, and we met some incredible guys along the way, some of the world's most successful leaders, that I was fortunate enough to sail with, there's two things about them. Number one is that they are the most incredibly lovely, nice, generous, honest, transparent, and authentic people. So that's number one, because common misconception is, oh, well, it's all right, they got to where they got by treading on people's head. And that's total bull. It's not that. It comes down to one word, which is persistence. Yeah. It is that they, because there are so many talented people, and I know there's a lovely quote, I can't remember who did it, but it's something like that the world's full of talented people that are not succeeding, whereas the guy or the girl who's persistent, who knows what they want, and is comfortable that there's a period of time between them deciding what they want and them going to get it, it's called lag time, that they're comfortable, that's when that persistence kicks in. It's that, every day that I choose to eat or drink a great juice, you know, every day, or every day I work out, or every day that I manage my emotional state, I'm getting a step closer to my goal and my ultimate dream and destiny, and being comfortable with that and enjoying the process, you know? So yeah, sorry, off on another tangent, but I hope that happens.
I mean, you saying about, you know, you were half tempted to turn it down, and turning down kind of signs from the universe or anything. The story I love about that, you may have heard this before, but it's about an old guy, and the town or village he's living in gets a severe flood, and he manages to get himself up onto the roof of his home, but the water's still rising. And a boat comes along. It's like, get in, get in. And he's like, no, 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 it's fine. God will save me. And the boat goes. Then a helicopter comes, offering to winch him up. And he's like, no, no, I'll be fine. God will save me. Go. And the helicopter leaves. And as the water's getting higher and higher, another helicopter comes. I'm fine. God will save me. And off the helicopter goes. Well, the man drowns. And when he gets up to heaven, he's sitting with God. And he said, why didn't you save me? Why didn't you save me? He said, look, I sent you a boat and 2 helicopters. What else do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's true. It's true. It's so true, you know? You know, because, you know, it's so easy in life to kind of, that you imagine the path, but you kind of, it's so easy to get locked into the rigidity of not taking it if it comes up in a slightly different way. A good friend of mine said, always keep your peripheral vision open. It's so true. So although you're going this way, just be aware what is over there and over here, because sometimes those are the opportunities that you need to get to actually kind of experience it. Actually, that's just kind of triggered something else in my head. I'll tell you a little story. So we're in Fiji on the island at Savu Savu, actually, and it's dark. Myself and Audrey are by each other, and we jump. Splash, completely pitch black. We can feel the water all around us. Our buoyancy is just pop us up, and suddenly we're popped up on the surface. So we scream a little bit, like this. You see, we jumped into a river that was going to carry us inland for about 3 miles. And it starts at the ocean. When the tide is coming in, if you jump into it, you can just go inland and float on the current. So I remember very clearly lying back with Audrey like this, and I sort of pull her in tight. And Audrey's my soulmate completely, okay? So I pull her in tight. We're looking up at the universe, all the colours of the Milky Way. I'm like, oh, wow, what an experience. And I kind of turned to Audrey and I went, Audrey, you know, this is like our life. What do you mean? Well, like, although we're here looking up at the universe and it doesn't seem like we're moving, look at the riverbank. Yeah, we're doing about 4 knots. Yeah. Well, that's kind of like life, right? The river being time. That although you feel that we're not going anywhere, time is still moving on. Audrey, what happens if life is like this, and yet on the riverbank is all our hopes and our dreams and the people that we want to meet? Do we just sit here and let time carry us and pass them? Or do we stop chilling out here and start swimming and start, you know, going across the river and going, yeah, I want to do that, bang, get that, okay, go across there and grab that. And I really remember that because, you know, the destination then was this inland lake where everything slowed down. I guess just like the end of our lives, when everything just slows down. And I'm sure as hell that when we get there and we look back, that we kind of think, you know what, fuck, you know, I want to be the guy that can go, you know what, I went for my dreams. I met the people I wanted to meet. I became the person that I wanted to become. And I really hope that anyone who's watching this or listening to this, that you really kind of get that message, that time is moving on all the time. And the question is, what are you going to do with it? Because it is the most precious resource we have as human beings. It's ticking all the time. Tick, 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 tick. I remember seeing a tattoo on a guy in French Polynesia, just on the inside of his wrist, and it says, the trouble is we think we have time. Like, interesting. So, I really remember that as well, is that, that when is now a good time to live your dream? When is now a good time to listen to Neil and start drinking that juice and actually starting to thrive and not just survive? When is now a good time to commit to lose the weight? When is now a good time to get your health into a state of vibrancy so you can ultimately live the life that you want to live and do what you want with whom you want whenever you want? Because I tell you one thing, I've been so blessed to sail around the world and to have the life that I've led so far. It's not always been good. There's been pain and there's been negativity as well. And I believe that, we all go through that. I think it was Jim Rohn said, bad stuff happens to us all. It's what you do with it that makes the difference. It's how you use it. It's how you frame it. It's how you view it. And sometimes the most darkest times in our lives are the most powerful. But when we can find that empowering meaning, that's when we can transport ourselves to a different level.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there are times when you're out in the middle of the ocean where a lot of fear kicks in.
Yeah.
Where there must be times where it's like really peaceful and and it's just beautiful, and you mentioned like the nature and all those kinds of things. But when you've got a hurricane or something, there must be fear there, right? But here's my question. When that happens, when you get that fear either in the ocean or at other times in your life, what is it? Is it your friend or your foe?
I believe that fear is your friend if you view it right. I think fear is a natural thing. Come on. I mean, it's really important that we are scared of things. It's important that if we walk to the side of a cliff and we look over and we feel that fear, that is impregnated into our brains for a damn good reason. Because fear is there ultimately to make sure we survive. Because the ultimate pain is death. So I think fear is good. I think culturally, a lot of us are conditioned that we start to then get fearful about things that we really shouldn't be fearful of. We're kind of taught, don't do that in case you fail. And I love the metaphor of when when we all learn to walk. We all learn to walk, but I'm sure you didn't just get up and start walking. What happened was you fell over, right? You kind of went to get up and you're down. But thank God your parents didn't go, right, that's it, you failed once, stay down, you're never to get back up. No, what did they do? They went, come on, that's it, Paul, come on, get back up, yeah! And I think that's the really important thing. In terms of, when you're out in the middle of an ocean, going through a big storm, let me just kind of paint the picture for you. I can remember being in the middle of the Indian Ocean where we were about 3,500 miles from land. It's pitch black, so imagine the blackest night. And all I can see are the red lights of the instruments of the yacht. The wind is howling, so it's deafening. And you just hear this woo in the rigging. You can hear the sound of breaking waves, and you just hear this like coming towards you. And it hits the yacht and just flings it over, and you're hanging on pretty much for dear life. And in those situations, fear kicks in, absolutely. But what I learned is, I can't do anything about the weather. I can't do anything about that. But what I can do is I can choose my attitude in that moment. I've got to lead that team on board. And if I'm fearful, then they're going to feel fearful. And as soon as I go into a state of fear, I start to make poor decisions. Whereas if I go, okay, look, I know we'll get through this. I trust the yacht that I'm on. I trust the team that I'm in. So start focusing on what I can control. Now, the first thing that I do is before any approaching storm, on the yacht, we will know about it because we've got the weather forecasting. Now, in life, that's whether or not you anticipate. You see, do you anticipate the issues that might crop up in life, or do you just live in reaction? That's for you to answer that question. Because on a boat, we're anticipating. We're looking at the forecast. And you know what? The forecasts aren't always right. But if we've anticipated, it means that we can kind of take the action prior to that storm arriving. It's kind of when people end up with no cash in their bank account and go, oh, I didn't see it coming. Well, you could have done. Maybe if you'd rewound 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months and put a strategy in place to kind of anticipate your financials, then you'd have a weather forecast for where you were going to go. And you could take that action early on. almost same as if, you know what, when people end up, I guess, you know, kind of really overweight and really unhealthy. If you rewind back and say, hey, look, you know, you want to eat that muffin today, that's cool, but you eat it consistently every day for the next 10 years, you know, that's going to have an impact on your health. That's anticipation and being able to break that pattern at that point. So you can prepare the yacht, you can prepare the crew, and then you go through the emotions of leading them. You know, when it's wild and you realize how small we are as human beings. I mean, we are ultimately incredibly tiny, not just looking up at the universe when it's peaceful, but in a storm where, you know, the ocean is knocking you about. And it's just focusing on the things you can control. Now, you know, when it comes to things like, you know, thriving, you know, and health, which of course is what Neil is all about, is, you know, you can control, believe it or not, picking up that muffin and that hot chocolate and putting it into your mouth. You can. You see, what can happen is we can end up just getting locked in an unconscious pattern that we just do it without thinking about it. And I guess the first case is to stop it, you know? So fear can be used for your advantage, because fear, you can use fear to actually, you know, make you not pick up that muffin. You can use fear to make you anticipate on a yacht before a storm, to lead the crew, to do all of that, to focus on the things that you can control. And I don't know, but there's a very great and overused quote that fear is nothing more than false expectations appearing real. And I love that, and I think that's very, very true. So I think if you can use fear to actually drive you and motivate you, then that's great. And sometimes just using it by, you know, going ahead in the future and saying, okay, well, look, if I carry on with this lifestyle now, ultimately, where is it going to lead me? Is it going to lead me to have the health and the vitality and the vibrancy that I really want from life? Or am I just stuck in the moment and, you know, kind of just going to take the comfort of eating that food that makes us feel great at the end of the day? You know, all that's doing is it's actually just triggers for our emotional state, isn't it? You know, when we eat that muffin, it feels good. Nothing wrong with it, provided we don't eat it consistently, you know, every day for so many days with your Macca Chacka Wacka Wacka coffee, whatever the flick you have. But basically, it's that Macca Chacka Wicka Wacka is basically zeros on the calorific scale. That's what's added into that, you know. Whereas you can just have one of Neil's amazing green juices, you get vibrancy like this, you know. There you go, exactly. You know?
I think there's a couple of things that I want to pick up on what you've said there, Paul. I think the first one is, whether you've done it consciously or not, you've actually mentioned kind of the mantra of the whole recovery movement, okay? Because you've talked about focusing on what you can control. Yeah. And if you look at organizations like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, all of those, there's basically something they call the Serenity Prayer that is used in pretty much all meetings of recovery, which says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think what you just highlighted there really is exactly that. It's, you know, understand and getting an understanding of what can I control.
That's right.
And then having the guts to do it.
Yeah.
And that will best prepare you for the things you can't control.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I think that's really what you just said, kind of, you know, summarizing it really short. But I think, you know, the examples and stuff you gave were really, really strong. You kind of got me going in one of two directions, though, from there, in terms of two things that I want to talk to you about. And one of those is, you know, you're talking about, effectively, if you're fearful, you project that fear onto your crew. You know, so you need to be able to manage your own emotional state, because that's the state you pass on. So, you know, what tricks, techniques, tips, whatever would you share in terms of how to do that, how to manage your own emotions?
Right. Okay. I mean, that is critical, and I really believe, you know, when I learned that, and when I really broke through with this was, I suppose, when somebody once said to me I remember it very clearly, you know, when I was upset about something, they said, you know what, Paul? And I said, you know what? She made me feel like that. He said, no. You chose to feel like that. Huh? Yeah, you chose. What? No, she did this. No. You chose. And that really kind of figured out, oh, maybe there's a little bit more to this. When you realize that we do have choice. You know, that we have a choice. Managing your emotional state, I think, you know, is critical. And you know, if we've all, I'm sure we've all either, you know, read one of Tony Robbins' books or anything like that, we all know it's focus, physiology, and language. Personally, I manage my emotional state with exercise. I love it. You know, if I don't exercise, then, you know, I find that I get cranky for sure, and, you know, I have to go back. I need to get in the gym and work out and actually move. So that's number one. Controlling my focus. I focus on the good stuff in life. It's as simple as that. I don't really focus on the negativity. I can take the negativity, and I can look at the weeds in the garden, okay, and I can look at them and see them, but I won't dwell on them. I'll just go and pull them out, you know, as opposed to sitting there blindly and, you know, like there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. But there's weeds, so go in there and pull them out. And then language-wise, you know, I'm really careful with the language that I will use on a consistent basis. You know, so you know, if you've studied any NLP or any of the kind of success psychology, you'll understand that first of all, whatever you focus on, you're going to feel. But number two, whatever language, however you language something, an event, an experience, will be how you feel as well. So if you start using habitual words like, I don't know, I'm humiliated every time, or I'm perturbed, or I'm upset, I'm angry, just changing those words. Let's talk about anger, because I suppose it's one extreme. Is that rather than saying, you know, I'm really angry about that, if you say, I'm a little peeved, you know, it's a completely different feeling inside. So really kind of managing your language as well, and just being able to interrupt that unconscious pattern and be able to go, well, you know what, get yourself in an empowered state. Now, does that mean that I live in an empowered state all of the time? No, of course it doesn't, you know. To have the really empowered times, you've got to have the disempowering times. The difference is this: I don't hang around in the disempowering states. I can recognize them and go, what the frick's wrong with you, Paul? Sort it out. Go and exercise, go and clear your head, go and do whatever it takes. Listen to your favorite piece of music. Read the book which really inspires you. You know, watch a great movie. You know, go and pick up your child and look into your child's eyes and just really appreciate that incredible gift you've been given. You know, whatever it takes to make you feel better. And if you're watching this podcast and you think, okay, well, that's all right for him, but what about me? You know, the first step is the hardest. But, you know, take control, make that little change, because ultimately that little change in the moment might only be 1 or 2 degrees, but, you know, and right now it might not make a huge shift, but you take that out a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, even 6 months from now, it's a completely different destination. So, you know, it really starts with you making a decision to kind of that I'm going to change my life. You know, I'm now going to focus, and it doesn't have to be some huge dream either. It doesn't have to be, you know, go to the moon and back, or, you know, get world peace, or, you know, cure cancer, whatever. Who cares? You know, but make that little choice of, you know what, when that crops up, I'm going to look for the empowering meaning, or I'm going to smile at my kids more. I'm not going to see it that they're just, you know, when they're playing up. I'm going to say, okay, cool, a challenge. I'm going to be playful. I'm going to be more, you know, empowered, or more fun, or, you know, and what you'll find is as you start doing the little things, all those little things begin to add up. And like I say, you know, they add up, they add up, they add up, they add up, and they get you to where you want to go. You know, and one of my big mantras that I've lived by for a long time is one life, live it. And I love that. I think it's brilliant. So, you know, because it's so true. I don't know what happens when we leave planet Earth. I remember a Rasta in Antigua. I went into this forest in Antigua, this rain forest, and I was sitting there with a Rasta on, and we're doing like a mountain bike tour or something like that. And he goes, "Hey, Paul, do you read the Bible, man? Do you read the Bible?" And I was like, no. He goes, "You should read the Bible. The Bible is a really important book." I was like, okay, cool. He goes, "Now, do you know what the Bible stands for, man?" I was like, no. He goes, "Basic instruction before leaving Earth, Paul." And that's it. You know, and I thought, oh my God, I have to come to a rainforest with some dope smoking Rasta. What the Bible's for. But I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? Because it's kind of, you know, it's so true, because there's great stories in there, like, you know what, ask and it is given. You know, do unto others what you want done to yourself. You don't have to be religious to appreciate those, but there's some great lessons in teaching that have, you know, kind of been passed on, you know, from the human experience, no matter what you believe, you know.
I think one thing you said there, sorry Neil, what you said there, Paul, about, I think you really mentioned an important point, that the whole thing of finding that kind of release, you know, be it exercise or looking at your kids or reading a book, it's different for all of us.
That's right.
I think there's a lot of information being put out there, and everyone feels at the moment as if they need to find their thing, you know, their why. Sometimes that just comes, I think, by just sitting back and realizing what it is that you enjoy.
That's right.
That's the thing that's going to kind of double check you to say, right, hang on a second, stop thinking negative. You're enjoying this very moment right now. So just accept that, and that's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. It's catching yourself in those moments of when you are in an empowered state. You know, we naturally will go into them. There are times in your life when you felt really strong, really certain, and just like, wow, this was amazing. Yeah. And you know, it's a case of, you know, catching what was going on at that time, catching the triggers, whether it be Queen, We Will Rock You, a piece of music, whether it be, you know, whatever it is, but put your attention on that, you know, and slowly but surely, you know, you will live more empowered. I guess the whole thing is it's so easy to get locked into that kind of negative space, you know, where you kind of lock in and go, well, you know, it's the economy, it's the economy, you know, I would lose weight, but you know what, I can't, or, you know, it's, you know, as Tony Robbins says, you know, the only thing that stops you from having what you want is the story you're telling yourself why you can't have it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and he says, you want to change your life, divorce your story, marry the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the truth is, we can have whatever we want. I was reading a book this morning, actually, and there was just a really kind of lovely little phrase at the end, and they went, whoa, click, 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 you know, breakthrough. And that was that, you know, we are living in this expanding universe. So we kind of think, okay, well, what's at the edge of the universe? If we go right to the edge of the universe and push a broom handle out, what's just beyond it? I've got no idea. But they kind of related it back to say, well, when you move your hand and you decide to create or be or become, you are the universe. You're expanding the universe just by living, just by, you know, just deciding that you're going to go out and you're going to be better with your kids, for example. You're setting a cause and effect in motion, you know. You said, this is what I want to achieve, you know, and be focused on that. And, you know, and you'll naturally move towards that. And I really liked that because I thought, God, it's true, you know, because we kind of live in this expanding universe and we forget that our own reality is just our own reality. That everything that's around you right now, everything, I'm just looking around my office here, has been created by a human being. Mm-hmm. Whether it be Steve Jobs, the Mac in front of me, the book that's just over there, the picture frame, the lights, the picture on the wall, it's all been created by a human being. And you know, you kind of think, wow, yeah, it's true. So the real question is, are you going to create the life that you want to create?
What you said there, Paul, about making the very next small decision count reminds me, I'm not sure, have you read the book Slight Edge, Jeff Olson?
No, I haven't, but I will do. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that is along that thought process, you know, and it does really come down to that next decision that you make every time. You know, that's either going to take you one step towards what you want or one step away. And if you break it down to that simple, we're all capable of making that one decision, aren't we?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, you know, it's that little distinction of focusing on what you want and not what you don't want.
Yeah.
Because they both will guide you to whether it be, you know, I want to lose weight, or I don't want to put more weight on. It's going to give you that unconscious, it's going to guide you that way. It's so important to focus on what you want, because ultimately, you know, it's going to guide you whichever way. What's Henry Ford, isn't it? The overused quote, but it's so true. You know, if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. It's as simple as that. So it's those little decisions and realizing the power of those little decisions. Because I think what happens is, you know, and I see this a lot, is people, you know, we live in this information-rich world now. I mean, you know, I'm really grateful to be alive right now. You know, if you rewind the clock back just 100 years, back to Andrew Carnegie's time, so US Steel, the most wealthiest guy in the world financially, you know, he couldn't dream of being able to reach into his pocket, grab one of these things, and get the answer to any question that he wants within a few seconds. So we're in the most incredible age. But I think what's happening with us all is that we get used to, we want things now. Yeah. So we kind of think, okay, well, I want to achieve this success, but I want it now. And if I can't have it now, I don't go for it. But the truth is that there's a journey. It's the person you become. Mm-hmm. You know, for you to become the most healthy and vibrant person, you know, you've got to go through that journey. There's no point just having the body of your dreams overnight, because if you've not got the discipline to keep it, you won't keep it. Yeah. All that happens, you'll lose it, and it'll just reinforce the belief that you can't have what you want. And then you just run the same pattern over and over again. So, you know, I think that's so important. What you said is those little key decisions. Yeah. That really guides us, you know. And then
I think we've got a real battle on our hands when it comes to that, though, because if you look at technology, and like you were saying, the power and the amazing side of it, but then the kind of battle we've got is the instant hit. You know, if you look at social media, the instant dopamine hit that you get with the likes and everything like that, that's the other side of it. So we've kind of got the advantage of the technology, but it's changing the way our brains are wired at the same time. So I think it's about pulling yourself away from that and realizing that we have got that space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And I can remember being in Llandudno in North Wales, right? Yeah. Standing on, you know, and this was only maybe a few months back. And I'm standing with Audrey, and I was like, Audrey, look at this. Stop. Look at this. What? Well, look at that. And we were looking through the window of Starbucks. You know, you got that green sign up at the top. And there's two people sitting there. And I said, now, I really hope that this isn't the future of the human race. Yeah. Because what you would have seen if you were looking through that window with us that day is you'd have seen two people in there. I'm not going to, you know, I'll cut to the chase. Two obese people sitting there with their maca or whatever coffee, you know. That's sort of, like, you know, you can't just have, you know, a little cup. You've got to have a, you know, like a bloody cauldron of coffee, yeah, with cream on the top, you know, a bit of pastry there as well. Massive pastry. And I was thinking, oh my God, you know, so, and then, but the real thing that really moves me, not only that, because you kind of think, okay, fine. They were both sitting there, not communicating, both just sitting there like this, you know? Yeah. Not communicating, just like this. And I just thought, oh my God, you know, you just think, is this the future of the human race? Are we going to get to a point where we're just going to text each other and not communicate anymore? Mm. You know? And I just thought, oh my God, I mean, like, look at what you're doing to yourselves, you know? And I see it more and more. And, you know, listen, listen, I will admit, I am addicted to Facebook. I've got to get off it, you know? And it's kind of, you know, it's breaking that. So it'll be interesting to see where we are in another 20 years. Yeah. Because technology is serving us massively. You know, you know, I'm a big believer that we're drowning in information, but we're really starving for wisdom. Yeah. So it's how do you cut through all of that and find the real people that kind of can help you move to where you want to go. Neil being one of them, obviously. You know what I mean? It's that, you know, being able to cut through all the noise and being able to really, you know, find the people that are going to lead you to back to what we've always known. You know, you know.
Do you know the worrying thing? Sorry, Neil, go on.
I was going to say, here's a question for you then, Paul. Yeah, how soon in the morning do you check your phone?
Well, it really depends. What I will tend to do, I get out of bed, I drag my gym gear on, I go down the gym, I come back. When I come back from the gym, before me going back upstairs for a shower, I check my phone. And I've recently stopped that, actually, because it got to a point where I was checking my phone and my email, and then I realized that, well, hang on, my email is just somebody else's agenda, it's not mine. You know, so I come back in this empowered state, and then if there's an email that needs my attention, you know, then suddenly it guides my whole day. And so when I took back the powers, I said, you know what? And I've done this now. I don't have Facebook on my phone. as in I don't have the app, don't use it. I took email off my phone. So I'm just comfortable with the fact that, you know what, the guys and girls that I work with, it's no worries. They know it's cool if I come back to them in a few hours' time, 6 hours or 12 hours, whatever, but they know I'll respond. But they understand that, you know, because otherwise you just don't get achieved what you really want to achieve, because you end up letting outside influences run your day as opposed to running your own day, you know? And I guess that's also a metaphor for outside influence running your mind and your health, you know? Because if you don't run your own brain, advertisers will get in there and run it for you. That's how it works, you know? Like you're sitting in the cinema and a trailer comes on for a great movie, and you turn to the person next to you and you go, that looks like a great movie, you know? But that one action might not get you there. But then you walk out and you see the movie unconsciously on the side of a bus, and then you hear it on the radio and constantly. Before you know it, it's like, hey, let's go to the movies and go and watch that movie. So if you don't get into your own mind and take control and run it, somebody else will, you know? And you think of all the advertising that there is, and I love what Neil is doing, and I love what Neil is doing, with being involved with Jamie Oliver and the Sugar Rush thing, because he's so right. It's like, all this advertising of, linking up all the pleasure with going to have a McDonald's or a KFC or anything like that. It's like frightening what we're doing to ourselves as a human race, especially when we have all the knowledge of how to not do this, but yet we're just kind of killing ourselves with poor health. So yeah, I don't know. Neil has the answer. Probably not me. You know?
I tell you what I think is the scary thing on that as well is going back to the whole language thing we were talking a little bit about earlier, is the way it gets branded as a treat. So parents talk about. I mean, you're a new dad, Paul, aren't you? So
Yeah, 4 weeks.
Yes, you haven't quite got to this thing yet when it's when your child's only 4 weeks old, but there is going to come a time where, for example, children's birthday parties, the treat that the parents of that your child gets invited to, the treat is to go and eat food that you might even not consider to be food. It's to go to a fast food restaurant and eat loads of fat, sugar, salt, whatever. And that's the treat, and that's then giving that reinforcement of this is something you can do as a treat, which isn't necessarily. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying never ever do these things, but for me, it's almost like, how can I put it? I consider those fast food restaurants to be more like emergency food, not a treat.
Sure.
It's like if I'm really, really hungry and there's nothing else open, then you might see me step inside. You might not, but you might see me step inside. But I certainly wouldn't go there and see it as this is a treat. The emotion of that is completely wrong. And I think it ties up with sort of going back full circle to some of the stuff that you've said about some of the things you've witnessed, and is this the future, and is this scary, and whatever, and that trajectory. The further down the line you get, the further apart you are. If you were back in the middle of the Indian Ocean and you're just 1 or 2 degrees out, but you're 4,000 miles away from land, you ain't going to find land.
No, that's right. You either
got to be exactly on the right land.
Antarctica, is one of the two. And ultimately it will lead to that. And it's you should go and eat some chocolate, enjoy the experience, and then beat yourself up for 5 days and had a piece of chocolate. And you're like, just. If you're going to eat, some sugary food, etc., just enjoy the experience, but just realize it's not something that you can do consistently on a long-term plan. You can just eat that little bit. It's moderation at the end of the day is what we're talking about.
I think it's more than moderation, and both of you have said it. I think it's that awareness of choice. It's not consistent. It's not like doing it again and again. If you choose to do it again and again, I think that's very different. If you're unaware of that pattern, then you're in a weaker position almost. So it's that awareness, I think, of having the choice and having whatever choice you want to make.
Yeah.
I live with, and I say this quite a lot to people I work with. The most power you've got as a consumer is knowing exactly what you consume. And if you're aware of what you consume, you've got the choice. If you're not aware and you choose to be blind to it, well, that's your responsibility. And that applies so much in health and food.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I think, people end up using food as a drug, don't they? Because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
But that's just a way that they've learned to manage their own emotional state. It's not the food that makes them feel good. It's the taste. It's the experience. And in fact, before they've even eaten the food, they've got the experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're don't get it, because they go, I'm going to eat chocolate so I feel good.
Yeah. Do you know what? That is so true. I've been doing some research on diets, and I've been working with a lady who looks into how words affect our emotions and how we react.
Sure.
And do you know what? Even seeing the word diet on the page now lights up different areas in women's brains just by seeing and reading the word. So, and that comes back to what you were saying, both of you, Paul and Neil, about language. Not what we speak, but what we read and consume as well.
That's right.
But and I mean the other thing with that as well is it's the focus in tandem with that language. I mean one of the activities I did at my retreat last week before, I actually had people eating a lemon without touching a lemon at all. So just to kind of reinforce that thing, basically I had people with their eyes shut, imagining they're chewing a lemon, and by the time we'd finished, every single one of them could taste lemon in their mouth. But there was no lemon involved at all.
Yeah.
And it is our associations to words, to what we focus on, to the language we use can completely change our experience.
Absolutely. So true.
I'm conscious of time, Paul. I'm really grateful for the time you've given up. It's been really interesting talking to you. Just to kind of one more question, really. If you could choose just one book to be added to the school curriculum, what would it be and why?
Well, it'd be the book that I've used as a crutch. Crutch is probably the wrong word, but it'd be the book that I learned to control my own destiny with, and of course it's this one here, which is Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. It's a brilliant book, written in when it was written in the 80s, I think it was, but it's just super duper. 1991 it's originally written. And, this just really resonated with me. It might be maybe a little bit too advanced for the school curriculum, but I think, when you read this, and whenever I kind of, lose my way, I go straight back into it. It's got loads of writing in, and there's loads of this. It's one of these things to go in and go, just remind myself, oh yeah, that's how I do it. So I think that would be the book. But I think it would be really nice to see personal development in schools, and really nice to teach kids that it's okay sometimes not to be okay as well, and to teach them, to focus on what they want and how you can achieve those things. So yeah, I think that's the book there. There are other books that I think are brilliant, like The Alchemist. I love that. I love the book Who Moved My Cheese. I love that.
That's a great book. I love that book.
If anybody's in that life change where they're like, don't know what they want to do next, or their job's changing or whatever, I just say, go and read Who Moved My Cheese. It's brilliant, isn't it? About, well, the cheese is gone, just go and find the cheese, but don't wait for the cheese.
And it's such a simple book that takes a concept that so many people struggle with and makes it so ridiculously simple that I don't know how you can read that book and then still be concerned about change.
I know. It's just a brilliant book. I love that. Love The Alchemist. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, I love that book as well. And I love the Weebles, his second book, Illusions, Richard Babb. I don't know if you've read that book, but the beginning of the intro is about, it's talking about this river, and there's all these little weebles that cling to rocks, which is like the algae that you see in a river. They're clinging to a rock, and their whole life is to be a weeble. But yet there was one weeble that goes, well, what happens if we let go? No, don't let go, don't let go. You're a weeble. Your whole life is to cling to the rock. It's like one day, let go. Up into the river, the turbulence of the river, got knocked off of the rocks. But then finally, you kind of learn to just go with the river and go with the flow. And then what happened was, she kind of flew over other weebles, and they all looked up and they go, that's a weeble up in the river. She must be the Messiah. She's the Messiah. She's the Messiah. And that whole book is about, being comfortable again with change. It's being comfortable with, whatever you want to do, you can do it. You've just got to believe that you can do it. And, just taking real courage to step outside and take the road less traveled, believe in yourself. And I think that's what we get from our peer group. We get from realizing that education shouldn't stop when we leave school. If we continue to educate ourselves, realizing that learning never stops, making new distinctions, realizing that you can go back and read things you read 20 years ago and get a completely different experience because you're at a different stage in life as well. So, yeah. And I just love the fact that we live in the universe that we do. I just think it's brilliant. Not just the time we do, but also, the kind of just that we can create, become anything that we want if we really believe it. One of our mentors, Neil, of course, is Andy Harrington. And, I remember Andy in the beginning when he was speaking, he used to tell this wonderful story about what happens if that when we all die, that we actually get transported to a different planet somewhere else in the universe. So actually what happens is we all end up sitting on the moon because the moon is like an interstellar, interuniversal airport. And you're sitting there, obviously, on your way out, and there's somebody from Planet Zog just here. Like, so where are you from? Oh, well, I'm from Planet Zog. And you? I'm from Earth. Cool! I've heard Earth is really cool. Did you go to the Niagara Falls? No. Huh? Did you go and create whatever it is you wanted to create? Because I've heard on Earth you can do whatever it is you want. No. Did you sail around the world? Did you go out there and experience the most incredible things? No. Did you really look after your health and inspire other people by doing that? Well, no. Well, what did you do? Well, I can tell you what's on EastEnders in 2 nights' time if you want. But Andy, Andy says that much better than that. But the point is so true, isn't it? It's that you kind of, if you kind of view life like that, I loved it. It really resonated with me. I thought, yeah, Andy, you bang on there, because it's just get up and do what you want to do. Stop talking, start doing. And realizing that the journey, as Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forwards, only looking back, and realize that a journey will be twists and turns. When an aeroplane takes off from London Heathrow and flies to New York, does it aim at New York? Only in the last 500 feet of flight. The rest of because then it's pretty crucial that it lands on the runway, right? But the rest of the time, it's changing its course. It's flying around the weather. It's constantly correcting its course. It's constantly being blown off course, not to one side. Life is the same. Wherever you want to go, you've got to realize you've got to just keep trimming the rudder on your plane, on your ship, whatever it may be, whatever your metaphor is, and just keep correcting, but having that confidence that you'll know that you'll get to where you want to go eventually. But you'll never get there if you only do half the flight. If you hit the first issue, the first problem along the way, and then you look down and you get wrapped up in it, and you forget where you're going. And I think that's really the key, is being able to keep that eyes on what you want and just that courage inside when it is painful, when it is uncertain, when you don't know what is going to happen next, that sometimes the grace of God, if you like, kicks in and gives you that other opportunity to, take you onto this course and come back there. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about life, that you do have that variety, that uncertainty. And maybe if you're watching this podcast and maybe you're thinking, I really want to lose the weight, I want to get really fit and healthy and vibrant, but it just seems insurmountable. Remember that it just takes one step. And with one step, you take 2 steps. With 2 steps, you take 3. And with 3, you take 4. And the more steps you take, the closer every day you'll get to where you want to go. And ultimately, you will get there. The question is, will you go for it? And the best thing that I can say is, Neil is the man to help you get there. Neil is the man to give you those tools, those strategies, and those techniques that will ultimately support you to get you to where you want to go. Because we all need support. We all need each other to support us to go, hey, look, it's okay. You've come off the path. You're in Llandudno, and I get you drinking but that's okay. Come back over here, take this, and make your way towards your destiny. And that's what I love about life, I guess, I hope that helps.
That's cool. Well, thank you so much for your time, Paul. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything you want to add, or any contact details you want to share for our audience, so they can hook up with you, find out more about you?
Yeah, of course. So if you go to pauladamson.org, you'll find my website site there. I do a lot of speaking all over the world, in fact, for different businesses and companies, and I also do a lot of keynotes. So if you're an event organizer, let's say, and you're looking for a really inspirational speaker, this is time for me to do my plug, if you like, then I'll be thrilled to talk to you. So just go on to pauladamson.org and you can contact me through there, and I'll be grateful to speak to you and work with you and bring it on. Thank you very much.